purpose and what does Hashem want us to do?
Right. They said by Yomi ben Uziel there was a bird. It was so holy that if a bird would fly over his head, it would drop. It would die. So they said, the Chassidim said, look at the holiness of the Yomi ben Uziel, and the Litvisha said, who has to pay for the bird? Okay, a new Mishnah. We're on Ayin Daled on the bottom. Ayin Daled Amud Aleph on the bottom. Hasheichet es habehima. This Mishnah we mentioned several times. If someone slaughters an animal, l'matzah ben shmeinachai, and he finds in it an 8-month-old embryo, living, oy meis, or it's dead, oy ben tisha meis, or a dead 9-month-old. So, you tear it and you just remove the blood. It's Rabbi Meir's opinion that if it would have been alive, you wouldn't have been allowed to do that because it would be full term. But because it's dead, so the shechita of the mother helps.
So
The shechita of the mother helps, but you still have to remove the blood.
So it's still kosher.
It's kosher. Matzah ben tishachai. Let's say it's 9 months old. It's full term. Then turn shechita. It requires shechita. V'chayav ba'isiv b'espinai, and it's obligated in oisiv b'espinai. That means you would think like, oh, I shechted the mother. I have to shech the child as well. Let's quickly shech the child. No, oisiv b'espinai. You can't shech the mother and child in the same day. You have to wait a day. Divrei Rabbi Meir.
Wait, can you back up to the 8-month-old? What was the reason for tearing it?
Oh, the tearing it means that it doesn't need shechita. That's an expression that means no shechita is required.
Oh, so it's not that it does something
No,
else.
but you have to remove the blood. The Chacham say shchitas imay metarase. The sages say no, even though it's not full term, but the mother shchita protects it. Give me 1 second. I want to get a tissue on it. Is there a pause? The center button. Just give me 1 second.
I did it.
Reb Shimon Shazuri Yaimer. We'll see more about Reb Shimon Shazuri later, at the end of today's daf. But Reb Shimon Shazuri says, "Afilu ben chamesh shanim v'chirish besada." This child could be 5 years old, plowing in the field. Shchita simin mitarase. The shchita of the mother purified it. You follow what's going on? Reb Meir held that once it's full term, it requires shchita even if it's found inside the mother. The first opinion says, the sages rather, the Chachamim say that no, full term, the shchita of the mother helps. Reb Shimon Shazuri say that even if it's 5 years old, it's fine. It's born and 5 years old, it's fine if its mother was shechted and it was found alive inside its mother. Rashi says, and the Gemara is going to say, well, what's the difference between the sages and Reb Shimon Shazuri? They say the same thing. The only different opinion here is the Reb Meir, that says if it's full term, it requires shchita. But the sages said if it's in the mother, it's fine. And the Reb Shimon Shazuri says if it's in the mother, it's fine. Reb Shimon Shazuri adds that it's 5 years old, it's also fine. But from the sages, they didn't mention that, so probably they hold the same thing. 5 years old, walking around, its mother was shechted while it was, it was born inside the mother's shchita. It should be good. We have to explain that later. Kara umatzaba ben teschai. Let's say the mother's not shechted. You just open it up. And you open up the mother, you kill the mother, you open it up. And there's a 9-month-old fetus, full term. Ton shchita. It requires shchita. Fishlei nishchita because its mother wasn't shechted. It seems a little obvious.
Why isn't the entire calf considered an
Aver Menachem? Maybe that's the chiddush here, that it's not an Aver Menachem.
There's 9 months.
Because it's No, but I was wondering. Like, you have to
living
tell me that it
organism
requires
that
shchita.
came
Of course, it
out of
requires
the mouth.
shchita. It's a regular animal. It requires shchita. There was no shchita. So Dr. Stein is saying no. The chiddush is that you took it out It wasn't born. You took it out, and it's not considered Eivir Menachem. Okay. Amar Rabbi Lazar, Amar Rabbi Yishia. Rabbi Lazar says in the name of Rabbi Yishia, Lai hilchu bay al aliske shchita bilvad. The whole discussion here about the fetus, we're only discussing shchita. But regarding other halachas, the rabbis will agree with Reb Meir that it's a regular animal and all halachas apply to it. What are we talking about? Lamuti mai. When you say other halachas, what are you coming to say? Lamuti chelbei v'gidei. It's coming to exclude the forbidden fat in the gid hanasha, that it's going to be considered a regular animal. The Gemara says, 1 second. Chelbei demai. Who's chelev? Eily mechelbei deshlil. Are you talking about the chelev of the embryo? Miflag pligi. That's a machlekes. By the way, Rashi takes out all of this Gemara. He says he considers it ridiculous to have this Gemara here. It's so obvious. But anyway, we'll read it through. He says this Gemara is here because it was taken from another place. We'll read it through. Are we talking about the chelev of the embryo? That's a machlekes. The Tanya, gid hanasha noig b'shlil. We have a brisa that says the gid hanasha applies to the embryo. B'chel b'yaser, but the chelev doesn't. The chelev does apply as well. Different Rabbi Meir, that's your mayor's opinion. And Rabbi Yehuda Eimer eina noig b'shlil v'chel b'mutter. Rabbi Yehuda says no, that the shlil, the embryo, doesn't have the gid hanasha, and it also doesn't have forbidden fats. You can eat the whole animal, even the hind part, according to Rabbi Yehuda. So, ve'amar Rabbi Lazar, amar Rabbi Yishia, machlekes beben teschai. This machlekes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is referring to when it's already full term, and that's v'halach Rabbi Meir l'shitasai. Rabbi Meir goes according to his opinion that says that it requires shchita. So according to Rabbi Meir, this is a real animal. It requires shchita. It also requires the removal of the gid hanasha and the removal of the fats. Rabbi Yehuda l'shitasai. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reason that says that it's not a real animal. It's just considered an embryo because the mother was shechted, even though it's full term, but it's still considered a part of the mother, and that's why there's no gid hanasha and there's no chelev. So we're talking about over here. We said that the whole machlekes here is only regarding shchita, but not about chelev and gid. Who's chelev and who's gid? We said, the chelev of the embryo. We said, how could that be? There's a discussion over there as well between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Elachel by the gid. We're talking about not the chelev of the embryo. In an animal, there's two types of chelev. Well, of course, there's shuman, kosher fat, but there's forbidden fat. But there's also a type of fat that goes around the gid hanasha. It's called shuman agid. It's the fat that goes along the sciatic nerve that we remove because for rabbinic reasons we consider it forbidden. So what we're talking about here is that the chelev of the gid hanasha, that everyone would agree. The Gemara says, really? Miflik pliki, that's also an argument. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Gid hanasha mechat dachra b'chol makim shuhu. The gid hanasha, you have to, mechatit means that you poke. You poke after it. That means you have to get into the those small areas to remove the gid hanasha. It's called knaiknais. These branches, how it branches out. And you have to get shamnai. You have to get the fat out from the roots, from the smallest amounts. Div Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says that you can just cut it off level with the gid hanasha. You don't have to dig in. You just take off the gid hanasha together with the fat, and just one slice, and that's what you need to do. So there's a machlekes about this, about the shuman agid as well. So what are you saying? There's no machlekes about the chelev or the gid. We have to amend the statement of Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yishia. This is how it needs to be said. Amar Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Yishia The whole issue here is not about shchita. The whole machlekes here is about eating. However, when it comes to other halachas, lemute roive v'chayrish bait, it's coming to exclude that everyone would agree that even though this animal doesn't require shchita, but you can't mate this animal with a different species. You can't make kalayim. You can't crossbreed, and you also can't hook it up to a plow with another animal, because you're not allowed to plow with two different animals together. So even though there's no shechita required, and we'll say, oh well, it's not an animal; it doesn't need shechita. That doesn't mean that the other laws don't apply. This is comparable to someone in an area. They say someone in New York. They went to Baltimore, where there's an Erev in Miami, and the phone rang. It was on Shabbos. So the little kid picks up the phone. He said, "What are you doing? It's Shabbos." He said, "Yeah, but you said there's an Erev here." So you think like because there's an Erev, the kid thought you can do everything. So you would think that it doesn't require shechita. It's not an animal. It doesn't. No. When it comes to plowing, when it comes to mating this animal, it has to be done with the same species that it's. Amar Reb Shimon ben Lakish. This is Rish Lakish up here. Amira in Israel. L'divrei hamater b'chalbai, mater b'damai. According to the one that permits the chalev of the embryo that's found inside the mother, the blood is also permitted. Mater b'damai. L'divrei ha'isur b'chalbai, but according to the one that forbids the fat, isur b'damai. He also forbids the blood. Rabbi Yochanan says, Af l'divrei hamater b'chalbai isur b'damai. The whole machlekes is only about the fat. Is there considered forbidden fat here? But everyone agrees that you can't eat the blood. Eisvi Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan asks Rish Lakish, Kairi Maitzias Damai. Rabbi Meir holds that you have to tear it and take out the blood. Or maybe Rabbi Meir is the opinion that holds that the blood is forbidden. But he didn't say you have to take out the fat. That was the case where it was permissible. So by an animal that's permissible, everyone agrees. By an animal that the mother shechita helps, everyone agrees that you don't have to remove the fat. And here you see you still have to remove the blood. That's a problem. According to Rish Lakish, you should not have to remove the blood. This is Rabbi Yechanan's question on Rish Lakish. So Amar Rab Zeir responds, She'ina neshkaris. What he means to say is that Rish Lakish says that the blood is permissible. He means that there's no karis on it. That doesn't mean that you're allowed to eat it. It could be still a negative prohibition. You just don't get the punishment of. So it has some other status of blood. Laman ka'amri.
This over here says, Bert was talking about Mo'utei Rovai, to exclude, you said with Kalayim,
Right.
or plowing. So here it says that the secondary Mefarshim are explaining that it's prohibition against Kalayim. The primary thing that it's talking about is actually a human being having relations with this animal. It says in Tosfos that says there.
That's interesting. So Rashi says the way I said it, because the word roivai usually is usually used with
Bestiality.
bestiality. But Rashi said that it's talking about kalayim, so that's how I translate it like that. Okay, Yeshakayach.
Bestiality.
Now the Gemara asks, now, who are we talking about that says that the blood is forbidden? Laman ka'amri. We said that the blood, there's no karas according to Rish Lakish, but nevertheless it's still forbidden. Who are we talking about? The Rabbi Yehuda? You want to say we're talking about in Rabbi Yehuda's opinion? Lo yehei el adam tamtzis. Let it only be the blood that's not considered the blood that comes out by the shchita. Dam tamtis is the blood that flows out afterwards. Titania, the one that doesn't spurt out. Dam tamtis bazhara, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Beikaris. Rabbi Yehuda holds, you see, Rabbi Yehuda's of the opinion that the chaylev is mutter. He was the one that argued with Reb Meir before, if it's in its 9th month, if the chaylev is mutter in the embryo. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the chaylev is mutter. We said that the one that holds the chaylev is mutter holds that the blood is also mutter. So we said that we have a problem because we said that you have to tear it and take out the blood. So we said no, it's not kares, but you still have to take it out. That's what we meant. When it said mutter, it meant it's not kares. Where says 1 second. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the chaylev is mutter. Now you're saying that the blood is not kares, according to him. Let's take a look at what Rabbi Yehuda's opinion is about blood. Rabbi Yehuda holds that blood that's not part of the shechita is also kares. So how are you going to get away with this? Let it be just the blood that flows out after the shechita that has kares. How can you say that this is not blood? It's not blood at all. It's blood of the animal. The blood that's in the embryo, it's just like another limb of the animal. So why are you saying it's not kares? So Tirgama Rabbi Yosef, brother of Salah Chasida, Kamidah of Papa, Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rav Salah Chasida, the pious, and it says, explains in front of Rav Papa, Islay Rabbi Yehuda dam v'chol dam. Rabbi Yehuda has a unique opinion here. He says that, how do I know that all the blood is kares? Because it says dam v'chol dam. It says that expression, in all blood. So he learns like this: Kol heichad mechayev adam nefesh. Anywhere where you'll be chayev on the blood that comes out with the life, that means the blood that spurts out. Mechayev adam tamtis. Yes, granted. You're chayev also on the blood that flows out afterwards. But b'chol heichad lo mechayev adam nefesh. But if there is no dam nefesh that you're chayev on, then you're not going to be chayev on dam tamtis. Now, since by the embryo, it's not considered dam nefesh, I guess because it doesn't require shchita. So you don't have that original dam nefesh. So he says, therefore, it's funny. He considers it, it's a funny opinion. He considers it part of the mother animal. But he also considers it its own animal. That it doesn't have its own dam nefesh. Considers it its mother's, and it's part of its mother, that there's no din of chaylev. And it's also, when do we say that dam tamtis, the blood that flows out after, is considered kares, incurs the kares punishment? That's only if it would have also had dam hanefesh. But because this is an animal that doesn't require shchita, I guess it's considered like it's shechted already or something.
Well, its dam hanefesh is totally on the mother's, on the placenta through the mother, so its dam hanefesh is the mother's dam hanefesh.
I know, that's the problem. So it does have dam hanefesh, but
it has its mother's.
It has
dam
its mother's.
It's a second name on the safe deposit box. But no, I gave it the key. That's why it's not born yet.
Somehow it has a double status here. It has a status that it doesn't require shchita because it's a limb of its mother, and at the same time, it doesn't have dam hanefesh as its own, even though it has its mother's, but it doesn't have its own. So therefore, the blood doesn't have kares, even dam tamtis, even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Ibaylahu. Where's the interesting question? Ma'u lifteis beben pekua. If a donkey has a firstborn, you have to redeem the firstborn. You exchange it with a seh, with a lamb. Let's say you have a lamb, but it happens to be this lamb was found inside the mother after the mother was shechted. Is this lamb valid to be the seh, to be the sheep that's going to be exchanged with the donkey? Aliba de Rav Meir leitibaylach. No shaila according to Rav Meir. Kiven da tarn shchita. Rav Meir says it requires shchita. It was a full term. So sema al yehu. It's a regular lamb. Kiti Bailach, who is our question according to? Alib Rabbanan. See, before we said we had a question according to Rabbi, because you were trying to do shchita in the mother. Here you're not doing shchita in the mother. Here, you have the lamb, the regular lamb. It requires shchita. It's a regular lamb, so you can exchange it. So the question is, Kiti Bailach Alib Rabbanan. The question is according to the Rabbanan. The Amri Shchita Simem Metarase, that the Rabbanan say that the mother Shchita helps. My. Do I say that this is considered meat in a pot? It's already shechted. It's already. Do I say that this is not considered a lamb anymore? Or maybe Kivan Durat Vazel Vasi Sekarin Bay, or maybe I do consider this a lamb because it's running around, so I can exchange it. Do I consider it food, or do I consider it a lamb? Now you're supposed to exchange the firstborn of the donkey with the lamb, unless you have some exact measurements. If it's going to be food, if it's going to be already shechted, there is a possibility of doing that, but then it gets more complicated. Our question is, this one that's running around, is it the simple one, where you just have a lamb, and you can exchange it or not? So Mar Zutra Amar Ein Poiden. Mar Zutra says, you can't exchange it. It's not a lamb. Ravashi Amar Poiden, Ravashi says, yes it is. Amalei Ravashi le Mar Zutra, Ravashi tells to Mar Zutra, my daitach, what's your intention? What are you thinking? The Gamer says Sem Ipsachim. You're trying to learn it from a Karban Pesach. Over there it says Seh. And over here it says Seh. And I have a problem with using a Ben Pekua for a Karban Pesach. Because you're not allowed to use for a Karban an animal that wasn't born naturally.
Ben
Pekua is the animal, is the fetus that's found in the mother. I have a problem with that because a korban needs to be slaughtered. Needs to be born. Needs to be born naturally. This animal, the mother was shechted, and even if it came out naturally, possibly it came out naturally after the mother was shechted, that's not considered a birth. That's considered a cesarean. So I can't use this animal for a Karban Pesach. So maybe Mar Zutra is learning like this. I can't use it for a Karban Pesach. I also can't use it for a Pidyon Petach Hamar, because it says Seh by both of them. And I'm going to learn, no good for a Karban Pesach, no good for Pidyon Petach Hamar. So Ravashi says, excuse me. Rashi says, I have a problem with that. Korban Pesach needs to be a male. You're going to tell me that the sheep needs to be a male as well, that you're using for the Pidyon Haben. It can't have a mum either. It has to be 1 year old. No one ever said any of those things when it comes to a Pidyon Haben. If you're going to learn from a Korban Pesach, you're trying to get the same halachas from a Korban Pesach. You're going to be limiting the Pidyon Petach Hamar. So he responds back, he says, Tifta Riba. He says, no, I have one word here that's inclusive, that adds in other halachas. So Rav Ashi responds, Tifta Riba, I feel called Mili Nami. Then why don't you include everything? Which means even a sheep that's a ben pekua. It says him kain seh mayahanila. So what do I do with the seh? Says is coming to exclude. What's it coming to exclude? He says it's logical. It's coming to exclude the ben pekua, the animal that's inside, and it's coming to include male with a blemish and more than a year old. Even though that all of that is not acceptable for a Karban Pesach, but that is acceptable for a Pidyon Petach Hamar. Iboilahu. That's an interesting question. Mal limnes by Rishon v'Sheni. Okay, we're talking about we shechted the mother, the fetus is inside. You're about to take out the fetus, but an animal or something that's tamei touches the mother. Now, when it touches the mother, the whole mother becomes tamei. What about the fetus that's inside that's about to come out? Do we say that that's a sheni because the fetus is touching the mother, or do we say it's all the mother and it's all a rishon? Rabbi Yochanan Amar Mainim by Rishon v'Sheni. Rabbi Yochanan says we do count Rishon and Sheni. It's considered separate. Reb Shimon ben Lakish, who argues with Rabbi Yochanan, he says, "Ein Mainim by Rishon v'Sheni. Nasa ke'eges hamiskashkas b'kli pasei." This is like a nut that's inside its shell. It's one thing. It's all a rishon. It's Rish Lakish's opinion. Rabbi Yochanan says it's two separate things. Rish Lakish says it's one. Eis Rish Lakish le Rabbi Yochanan. Rish Lakish asks Rabbi Yochanan a question. He said, "Habasar maga nevela." It's Reb Meir. If the arm is stretched out because it was already born, Reb Meir holds that arm is considered a nevela, and that arm is touching the embryo and the mother, and it makes it as if it touched a nevela. Divrei Meir. The Chachamim Maimer Maga Treifa Shchuta. The Chachamim say that no, that arm that's sticking out is only a Treifa Shchuta. Rish Lakish says Bishlei Malididi. According to me, the Amina Chad Gufahu, that I hold that it's all one body. Hainu Diskasha Bedama Deime. The only way that food could become tamei is if it got wet. Where did this embryo get wet? So if you say that it's all one, the embryo and the mother is one, so the mother's shchita, the blood comes out, it makes the mother wet, it's as if it made the embryo wet, because the mother and the fetus is one. Ella lididach, but according to you, b'mayas kasha, how did the embryo get wet? You're saying the arm made the embryo wet. The mother's wet because the shchita, but the embryo never got wet. How did it touch the embryo? You cut it off and put it away. The embryo was never wet, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Because he holds the embryo and the mother are two separate entities. Amalei, Rabbi Yochanan responds, we learned this before once, B'shchito Reb Shimon. It's Reb Shimon's opinion that says that doesn't need to get wet if there was shchita. The shchita miskasha, it becomes susceptible to tumah without water, just because of the shchita itself. We had this opinion, Reb Shimon, we mentioned this before. Reb Shimon holds that the shchita itself makes the food susceptible to tumah. So here, the mother was shechted. That shchita applies to the embryo, even though it's not one thing. But the shchita allows it. The shchita makes it susceptible to tumah. Therefore, the arm touches it. Eisir Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish. Now we have the reverse. Now Rabbi Yochanan goes on. Is attacking Rish Lakish. Question. We have a story here that Avar Benar. Let's say this fetus that was in the mother when the mother was shechted passes through water. Huchsher. It becomes wet and it becomes susceptible to tumah. Halach lebeis hakvaris. You then take this into a cemetery. Nitma. Now it becomes tamei. He says Bishlai Milididi. Rabbi Yochanan says, according to me, that I say that the fetus and the mother are two separate entities. They're two bodies. That's why it had to go through the river. Because if it goes through the river, then it got wet, then it's susceptible to tumah. If it doesn't go through the river, it's not susceptible to tumah. But according to you, the Amrit Chad Gufa, you say that it's all one entity. Why does it have to go through water? Its mother was shechted, and it's one with the mother. The blood of the mother worked. The Gemara says, "B'shchita yaveshta," talking about that there was no blood by the shchita. You didn't shech the pipes, or you did, and no blood came out.
How could be the blood will not come?
We had this question a long
I
time
don't
ago.
We had it before. I don't know. Huh?
The bloodless.
Bloodless. There was no blood.
There was no blood. Is there a shechita? We had this question.
I learned so much chassidus that only chassidus came out.
Exactly.
Hold on. How can Behim become tummy? We said before that Behim can have been tummy.
We're talking about it when it's dead.
Yeah.
Had to be when it's dead. Or actually, we're going to see soon that there may be it's alive. We'll see in a minute.
Then what happens to also? What kind
We'll see in a second.
Yeah.
Udlik Reb Shimon. We're also going to have to say that it doesn't go according to Reb Shimon, because Reb Shimon holds even if it's dry, the shechita makes it susceptible to tumah. That's the opinion that we said. Okay, so Rish Lakish got out of the issue by saying that there was a dry shechita, it needed to get wet, the mother shechita doesn't affect it, there was no blood, and the shechita according to and it's not according to Reb Shimon. Mantana, who's the opinion that holds Avar Benar Hochsher Halach LeBeis HaGvaris Nitma? Who holds this? Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yossi Aglili. It's Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Yossi Aglili, back amongst the Tanaim, is over here, the era of Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Reimer Mishum Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, who's a student of Reb Meir, he says in the name of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Mitami Tumasaychlin V'Tzarech Echsher, that a ben Pekua, the animal that's in the mother's womb, when the mother shechted, even if it's alive, is considered food, and therefore it becomes tameh, because it doesn't need to die. It doesn't need shechita. It doesn't need shechita. You follow, Reb David?
Yeah, the Ben Ches, Ben Ches, Ben Tes.
That would be a machlekes Reb Meir and the thing. But whatever the case is, in a case where it doesn't need shechita, so it's also susceptible to tumah. Usually we say a live animal cannot become tumah. The only thing that's alive that can be tumah is a Jew. But here we're saying that this can. Why? Because it's considered food, and it's susceptible to the tumah of that food is susceptible to. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. However, v'tzarech echsher, but it needs to get wet. The sages say, it's not food, it's living, it's walking around. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his reason. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says that Rabbi Yochanan says that Rabbi Yossi Aglili says the same thing as Beis Shammai. Rabbi Yossi Aglili had Amran. Rabbi Yossi Aglili we mentioned that he says that a ben pekua, the animal that's in the mother, is considered food and it's susceptible to tumah after it's wet. And Beis Shammai, the Tanan, Beis Shammai teaches the following Mishnah. What about fish? When are fish susceptible to tumah? Beis Shammai hold once it's caught in the net. That's considered food.